imagine if we could stop the next giant corporate scandal before it even happens. Before anyone loses their savings, before lives are turned upside down. What if you could build an early warning system for fraud? Well, a really fascinating new research paper suggests we might be on the cusp of doing just that by teaching an AI how to read a company's secrets. Let's get into it.
Think about it. Inside any big corporation, there are literally millions of emails flying back and forth every single day. Most of it is just normal stuff, right? Project updates, meeting invites. But sometimes, buried in all that noise, are the seeds of a total catastrophe. The problem has always been, how do you find that one toxic needle in a haystack of, say, 500,000 emails? Well, what if an AI could be trained to do it for us?
So, to really understand where this is all going, we've got to take a step back. And honestly, there's no better case study for a complete catastrophic corporate implosion than Enron. This wasn't just a business that failed, it was a total collapse, built on a foundation of deep systemic fraud that went all the way to the very top. I mean, at its peak, Enron was an absolute giant. So when it went bankrupt, it sent shockwaves through the entire economy. As investigators dug through the rubble in the early 2000s, it was clear this was a massive failure of management and the board. But in all that wreckage, they left behind something incredibly valuable for us today: a huge digital archive of over 500,000 internal emails. It's basically the perfect digital crime scene. Okay, so this is where our story takes a really cool turn. This new research paper proposes a totally radical way to stop the next Enron. And it's not about building some kind of AI that thinks like a human CEO. No, it's about building a highly specialized tool based on a completely new philosophy for how AI should even work inside a company.
So here's the big shift in thinking. For decades, it felt like the goal was to create an AI that perfectly mimics human intelligence. But, why would we want to copy us with all our biases and flaws? This new approach says, forget that. It's way smarter to build specialized AI tools that are designed for one very specific, very important job, like sniffing out financial wrongdoing. The researchers have a name for this. They call it a dedicated operational context. Now, I know that sounds super technical, right? But the idea is actually pretty simple. Think about a car factory. A human worker on the line has one set of safety rules, but that giant robotic arm welding the doors, it has a completely different set of rules designed just for it. This paper is saying we should treat AI in the boardroom the exact same way. Okay, so you've got this great idea for an AI watchdog. But how in the world do you train it to spot a crime like corporate fraud that's, by design, incredibly rare and really well hidden? Well, the answer they came up with is just brilliantly counterintuitive. I mean, this is the real challenge, isn't it? You can't just feed the AI thousands of real examples of fraud, because that data is super sensitive, it's hard to get, and a lot of times it just doesn't exist in a clean data set. So how do you give this AI the experience it needs to become a good detective? And the answer is you don't use real data. You get another AI to make it all up. This is the absolute breakthrough here. Using a generative AI, the same kind of tech that powers things like ChatGPT, to create thousands of super realistic but completely fake examples of the exact crime you're looking for. It's a technique called generating synthetic data. And the process itself is just so elegant. The researchers took a generative AI and basically told it, okay, your job is to pretend to be a shady executive. So it wrote 517 unique emails suggesting ways to cook the books. Then, to make sure the training was balanced, it also wrote 517 totally normal, boring business emails. This fake dataset then became the textbook for 3 different detective AIs. This sounds totally normal, right? Like something a diligent employee would write. The kind of email that would just slide by without a second glance. Well, get this. This email is a complete fabrication. An AI wrote this to teach another AI what fraud looks like. It just shows you how powerful the synthetic data can be. So the training is done. The digital detectives are all prepped and ready to go. Now it's time for the final exam. Can these AIs, trained only on fake data, go into that real-world crime scene, the 500,000 Enron emails, and actually find signs of real wrongdoing? The results were pretty staggering. You can think of the 3 AIs as 3 detectives with different personalities. The first one, Support Vector, was super cautious, flagging a massive 17% of all the emails.
The third one, random forest, was way more selective, only flagging about 3%. But the real star of the show was the one right in the middle, the naive Bayes detective.
And why was that middle one the star? Because, look at this. During its training, it achieved a perfect accuracy score, a 1.0, 100%. It learned the lesson from its AI teacher absolutely flawlessly before it ever touched real data. So what did our Street A student find when it was let loose on the real Enron data? Well, it sifted through that entire 500,000 email archive and narrowed the search down for human investigators to just under 40,000 documents. It turned a completely impossible task into a manageable pile of the most suspicious files. And here's the absolute clincher. The researchers had based all those fake fraud emails on one specific, real fraudulent email they'd found buried deep in the Enron archives. And all three of their AI detectives, working completely on their own, found that exact same needle in the haystack. The experiment was a huge success. So, you see, this isn't just some clever academic experiment. This has really profound implications for how we run our companies, for how we enforce ethics. This whole thing points to a future of automated, tireless, and maybe even unbiased corporate oversight. So what's the big picture here? Well, first, we need to stop thinking that AI has to copy humans to be useful. Instead, we should be building these amazing, specialized tools that are just brilliant at one thing. Second, we now know that synthetic data is a ridiculously powerful way to train these AIs, especially in sensitive areas like finance or healthcare. And all of this together could create a whole new layer of automated oversight, an AI watchdog that, never gets tired and never looks the other way.
So, it all leads to this one fascinating question for the future. We're not talking about replacing human leaders here, but about augmenting them, giving them a superpower. Imagine a CEO getting a daily report from an AI that flags subtle communication patterns that might suggest risk. So, will the successful CEO of tomorrow be the one who figures out how to partner with an AI co-pilot? From the looks of this research, we're a lot closer to that reality than you might think.